All right, I guess we're recording. So let's get started. I'm gonna open the file and see what needs to be done. Do you see everything?
Yeah, I can see everything.
Perfect. Okay, so having set up a data sheet like this is fine, but I have several recommendations.
Okay.
So I would like to organize the data into columns, and there's going to be a lot of repeated rows, but that's going to become handy once we get started with like statistical analyses and things like that. So grouping it by hand and grabber is fine for now, but I would like to do something different. So I'm going to open up a new brand new document here for us to work with. And then I'm just gonna grab this and put it in here so that I can just modify it, okay?
Okay.
The first thing that I want to see is the sequence of trials. We want to preserve that always. And so what I like to do usually is just insert a new column here. Well, actually two columns. And one is gonna be for participant. I can call it PPT. And we usually like to go by numbers. So I will just do this. It's just going to be labeled as 1 across. Then the second column is going to be trial. This is to preserve the actual sequence of presentation of trials, because if we start sorting this, then we're going to lose that. Unless we have 1, 2, 3, 4 indicating the sequence of trials. And then we can always resort by trial and reconstruct the original order of things.
Right.
Okay. So the first batch was I guess the hand in this case. For me at least. Okay. So what I'll do also is I'm gonna insert another column here that is going to be named, well, we can just name it tool. Yeah, even though the hand is technically not a tool, but let's just go with that. So I'm gonna say all these trials are hand. Just like that. And then also I'm gonna insert what kind of trials are these. Another tag that says mode. And the mode is going to be either perception or action.
Oh.
Okay. Just to be 100% clear on what we're doing.
Okay.
Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this stuff here, the action parts, okay? Oops, not that one, but yeah, this one. I'm going to stick it over here because I assume, am I correct in assuming that you did test my actual hand ability right after the perception trials for the hand?
Yes, I did.
Okay, if I remember correctly. Okay, so those are gonna be then action trials. Tagging is everything in this business. Tag, everything needs to be tagged. Just like in a store, you need to tag everything.
You need to move over the action responses,
Right.
don't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna clean up stuff in just a
Okay.
sec. So this one is the incorrect responses, and these guys have to be moved over. So I
Okay.
can do this by just click, drag, and release. But selecting a group like this, and then hovering over the edges activates this little crosshair that looks like a bunch of arrows. And then you click, drag, and drop anywhere. This is a skill, okay? So one more time, you select whatever you want to move as a unit, then you hover over its edges anywhere until that arrow-like crosshair appears. Then you click, hold, drag, and drop. And then you can put it anywhere you like. That includes formulas, because they are part of that process as well. Okay, so now we have the action trials for the hand tag. Like, see, everything is now tagged. This is hand, it's an action trial, and these are the responses, and these were the actual stimuli. Repetition here doesn't make sense, but we're just gonna leave it in. That's fine. And then I will keep the sequence going, because technically speaking, the first action trial was the 43rd trial altogether. I'm gonna keep going with the same subject as well. So again, how do you do this? Let me show you again. You just select one of these items. There's a little dot at the bottom right corner. You hover over it until it becomes an X, then you double click. Therefore, that's why you need a mouse.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do that with the mouse pad, but with a mouse, you become an Excel ninja. And I'm not kidding. Because you can only learn this from someone else. I mean, you can watch YouTube videos for that, but it's best if someone shows it to you. Okay, so then I don't need this header anymore. I can just remove it. I will probably not need this column anymore. I'm just cleaning up stuff here. And then I go to the grabber trials. So I take all of this stuff now. I'm going to carry over the ability as well, just so we have it. If it's too big to drag, then I just use Control C to cut and paste, just like so.
Okay.
And then the same idea applies here. Like, I'm just gonna drop it down to the end of the, and nicely, if you double click this, it knows smartly where the sheet ends. It's not gonna go all the way. Oh, mistake. I made a mistake, because these are actual perception trials. The case of uppercase, lowercase matters, especially if you do this with a computerized software. So make sure that you're using exactly the same tag. If it was just a capital perception, it might be treated as a different variable in some computer programming. So just be aware of that. So that's why you have to use exactly the same tag. If you make a mistake, that goes for the Y and the N too. So if you accidentally type in a lowercase y, a formula that I'm about to show you might not actually compute it. It may or may not, but some formulas won't. So just be aware of tagging has to be exactly the same. Uppercase, lowercase matters. I'm going to take these action trials, cut them. Well, actually, I have to take all of it. Sorry. Because I need to know which objects you were presenting and what size. So I'm going to take all of this, copy, and put it in here. So then these become action trials. And I just continue. This is, well, I made another mistake. So these are not hand trials anymore. These are grabber trials. But it's fairly easy to fix that. So we're gonna keep going.
Let's look
One
at
thing,
56.
yeah, I'm gonna fix that, because in order to preserve the sequence, you have to select more than one box to actually keep going.
Mm,
So now if I click like 3 of these, then it knows that it's a sequence. And if I do that same trick,
mhm.
then it actually, so you don't have to type everything manually.
So we want the total number of trials and not like the first trial for the hand and the first trial for the grabber.
Well,
Like we don't
that's
want to
gonna
start
be,
we don't want to start the trial number over for the grabber part.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
it might be a minor point, but that also then tells us which came first. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Okay.
Then I don't have to memorize that.
Yeah, and if you do it that way, because that's what I did originally on here, like I have 1 through 42, 1 through 42. But if you sort by trial to go back to the original, it goes 1, 1, 2, 2.
Oh, gotcha.
Puts them together.
Yeah, so it's gonna
Okay.
be confusing. This
Okay.
way it's
That makes sense.
unique.
That
This one
makes
is
sense.
it's unique. So one more thing that I have to fix here is that this this needs to be realigned a little bit. Like so, and then this needs to be deleted because these are actual perception trials that were left over. So I'm gonna delete. When I do that, it asks me to what to do with the deleted cells. I'm just gonna shift everything to the left. And then it's gonna put in these are the actual action trials.
Hmm.
And I can just say 1 for these. For this one really doesn't matter because we only had 1 shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how I usually like to organize the data, and then I can delete all the other stuff.
Okay. So whenever I was messing around with it and trying to get the pivot tables, the only way that I was able to get it to look like the one that you made was to stack the hand data on top of the grabber data. But I wasn't sure if that was what I was supposed to do. So apparently I had more or less done it correctly.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's what I did. I had a condition column and then I had all the hand wounds and all the.
Mhm. But I think this is very typical of how we organize data. And then you can actually use this as a template. You know what I mean? If you just add a randomization column with a formula called rand
Kenzie showed me that.
parentheses, then it just basically you drop it down and it's gonna randomize everything. And guess what? Every time you copy this or do something with it, the random numbers will change. So you can with every new iteration, let me try it. I can
Yeah,
just
it'll change every time.
it will
Because like I said, Kenzie showed me how to do it and I randomized the trials for yours, and anytime I changed any little thing, all of the random numbers would change.
That's perfect. Where's my oh here. So sort let me just check it because I don't so it's this random order now. And all you have to do then, once you created a new sheet like that, to fix the trial order.
Hmm.
I mean, you have to reinitialize it so that now it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right,
So
right.
this is the new order. And then you select these 3, hover over the bottom right corner, double click, and it's just gonna create the new random. And by the way, every time you change something about the sheet, the random numbers change, but it won't change this sequence. That's your random sequence. But then you can use this as a template. And we want to create new random orders for each person. Well, let me preface this. You're gonna have to sort smarter than this because now we have action, perception, and all kinds of stuff, and the grabber and the hand all mixed up.
You
But
could just put those columns at the end and then only select everything but those 2.
yeah, you can do that. Let me try to fix this because I scrambled it. I'm gonna resort, and I'm gonna resort by, let's see, tool first. And then within that, I'm gonna sort by mode. And I'm gonna do Z to A because perception needs to go first and then action second. And within that, nothing, I guess. Yeah. So click. And now we are back to Well, this one was a grabber. Well, this one will happen to be just the grabber coming first. So perception, but I realized that I messed up something here. I messed up the original order. I'm gonna have to redo this. Fun stuff. See, now I messed it up, and I actually cannot go back to finding the original order. So that's why you have to be careful.
You could go sort by trial and then
Just hit the back arrow.
page.
Just hit the undo button like 4 times.
Well, let's see if it works. Once, twice, 3 times.
Yeah,
That
maybe
was
more
the
than 4.
original order. I think this was the original order. So if I resort by trial, that's my Hail Mary. Then
There
I
we go.
think we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this business, I am never confident. So I appreciate your confidence, but I will check
It's
it.
correct. I have mine pulled up and it's the same.
Okay, so let's just peek into it. Cube 1, sphere 1, sphere 1, cube 1, cube 1, sphere 1, sphere 1. But want to look at the size. Cube 5, sphere 5, sphere 3, cube 7, and so on. Okay. And y, and okay, good. So in this business, don't take it personally. I don't trust, I verify. Because it's not about people, it's about the data.
Yeah, you have to make sure that it's all accurate.
And that's the other reason why I never work with the original file. Remember, I didn't mess with this one that you sent me. That's gonna be like the one that I never mess with.
Mm-hmm.
Because then if everything fails, I can always go back to the start. But the last thing you want to do is just modify the same file over and over again and then lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you lose it, there's no it's very complicated or impossible to reconstruct the original order. Okay, so let's continue. Where were we? So this is perception. This is the original order of things. Perception with the hand, action with the hand, perception hand. Wait, what's going on here? Why are there, something's not right. Because we have perception hand, and then we have action hand.
You must
But
have
then we
missed
have-
some to change to grabber.
Yeah, probably. But I need to verify that as well. So let's go back to verifying. And this would be, okay, let me see. This is the original file, okay. So let me find the hand original action files, or trials, rather. And those will be these guys. Okay, so let's see if they match up. Cube 5, sphere 5, sphere 3, cube 7. That seems to be right. And then the responses are y, 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 n, y, n, y, 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 y. Okay, so this is correct. But then these trials, let's check these. What's going on with these? We said that they might be grabber trials. Cube 7, sphere 6, cube 5, sphere 4. They seem to be the right ones. But then which ones are these? They are perception trials. I can see that. I'm looking at this column here and this column here. And they are perception trials. So this has to be changed to grabber. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that looks right to me.
And then the last bit here has to be this. So let's check that. Cube 7, sphere 6, cube 5, sphere 4, cube 4, sphere 5. Okay, it seems to be good. How about the responses? Bunch of n's, 3 y's, and 3 y. Good. Whew. Okay. See, that's how you can save things. Save yourself from disaster. It's a continuous process of not making a big enough mistake so that you have to restart. Trust me, I've been to all these places and not all of them are fun. So I'm saving you a lot of headache, hopefully. Okay, so here we go. This is a good place to kind of start. And now I'm gonna actually copy it. I'm calling this sheet by the name, but usually I like to call it by subject number. Let's just do that. Just like that. And now we do need to do a couple of other things. So what do we want to plot? Well, we want to plot first by diameter, or you know, the size,
Mm-hmm.
and by shape, the responses. So it's all great that we have numbers here, but they don't mean much. So we actually have to use the diameter values, or if it's well, no, well, if it's a cube, then it's an edge. So we just know. I'm just gonna call this I think I called it in my sheet diameter or something, but
Yeah, that's what I called it in mine.
it's not gonna be a diameter for the cube. So at the same time, I don't want to use the same word size again.
I mean, I think diameter, we understand that it just means the total length across from one side to the other.
How about if I just use size cm? That might save us. So, because I'm not on the template, I'm just gonna remove the random sheet. I don't need it anymore. And then what I'll do is I will, let's see. I will try to find all the sizes.
I
And
found,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I found it was easiest to use an ifs statement in order to get the diameter for all of the shapes.
Yeah, well, it can get really complicated. I don't
It
know.
can, but I found that was the fastest and easiest way to do it.
Okay. Well, that's good. Let me show you another way that I was thinking about doing it. So we might eat up equal amount of time, but this is just another way to do it by sorting.
Mm.
Especially when we have just one data sheet for one person. Okay, so I'm gonna sort by size. Smallest to largest. And so size 1, what was the smallest size that we actually used for me?
6 centimeters.
There was some missing ones.
Mm-hmm. We use 6 centimeters for you for the small size.
So I'm just gonna do it this way, and then find the second one. The second one was 7.5.
9. It should have been 7.5, but we forgot to bring the shape in there.
That's okay. So I'm doing it pedestrian way, but this is a short sheet, so I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is 10.5.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do it this way. And then number 4 is 12.
12.
And then 13.5.
Correct.
And then 15.
Yes.
And then 7 is 16.5.
Yes. Right, Kenzie?
Okay, and we're done. So that's gonna be useful for us. Why do I do this? Because we need this information to calculate the ratios. You know, the pi ratios and then the adjusted pi ratios.
Right.
So while this makes sense for when you're doing the data presentation, right? When you're doing the experiment, because then you say the smallest number is the smallest size. But for actual calculations, we do need the raw numbers.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So I know that for like you as just your data, we're basically combining the hand responses and the grabber responses just be like a bunch of just really long columns. When we get to the point of having multiple people, will we stack the people the same way? Like, will we stack each individual person?
Yes. Good
And combine
question.
it like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Okay.
gonna be one long sheet. And
And
Mackenzie
that's why
noticed,
the participant identifier is important.
Yeah.
yes. For this exercise here, it's not so important,
Mhm.
but once we start stacking people, then it's gonna be important because the pivot table is gonna be organized such that each row is gonna be a participant.
Okay.
Here, it's not gonna be a that way because we're just using one person.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, you'll have a super really long Excel sheet.
yes, exactly.
Thousands of columns.
Thousands
Like
of
rows.
columns. Yeah, and that's
Well,
fine. Excel can go up to, I think, 64,000 or something like that, so we have plenty.
well,
Don't
let's see.
worry
With
about
just
Excel.
you, we're already at like 114. So,
Yeah, this is fine. Okay, so what else do we need? We need my span,
hmm
grabber span, because I'm trying to build all these ratios. So that I'm just gonna have for a given person, what is the hand span? So now I'm gonna actually order the sheet by tool because that's how I'm gonna enter the span. Okay, so now first start with the grabber. Okay, what was the grabber's span?
12
12.
inches.
Well, it's centimeters.
I
We
meant
want to
centimeters. Sorry.
keep everything in the same units because
Yes, I meant centimeters. I didn't mean to say inches.
yeah. Okay, and then we go to the hand. And then mine was 21 point.
21 and a half.
Good, 21.5. So we do that. And now everything's populated. Good. What else do we need? We need the curvature.
Hmm.
And that's that new measure that is also going to be expressed in terms of centimeters. But now it's going to be potentially the contact surface's length over the arc of the object. So
Mhm.
cube is basically gonna be twice the size of the
Diameter.
edge or diameter. So I'm gonna now sort by all the shapes. And just like so. So that's easy for the cubes. I'm just gonna say equal this times 2. I'm gonna drop it, but I have to find where the sphere starts because it's gonna be different for the spheres. So I'm gonna delete this. And now for each sphere, I have to figure it out.
It was 3.14 times the diameter over 2.
Yes. So let's build that formula. 3.14,
But 30.
4 times this thing divided by 2,
2.
because it's the circumference is 2 times the radius times pi, and then we have to divide that by 2, so that's the radius times pi. And yes, good. We drop that down and it computes everything. Perfect. We have the curvature now. Save it. And now I can calculate the pi, R pi ratio, which is going to be defined as size. Let me get this right, because we want the less than 1 to be graspable. So that means the size divided by the span.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to drop all of that to the end. And then we're going to have pi adjusted, which is going to be curvature divided by span. So 12 divided by 12. Drop it down, and we have these numbers. Okay. So we have the size, that's the diameter stuff. We have the shapes. I think we have everything that we need. If we don't, we're gonna supply it.
You need
Am
to
I missing
change.
something?
You need to change the perception yes/no responses into numbers.
Ah,
Oh, yeah, the
correct. That's right. And I need to just change this as an underscore. Underscore. Good catch. So I'm just gonna insert a column here, and nothing's gonna be messed up. It's gonna be smart enough to know that the formula is just gonna be relative to its position.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be, there's a way to actually hard code that, but we're not hard coding. So this is a smart formula that moves with the columns, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So nothing is messed up here. We're still the same values, which is what we want. Okay, so I'm gonna call this, I called it PRC num. Or just because we're lumping together everything like action and perception, we can just call it something like response num. Okay, and this is where the if formula comes in. So if logical test, this equals quote y quote comma. If this is true, then write the value of 1. In any other case, write the value of 0 to this box. And so that's the formula. And then again, you double click the bottom and it will compute everything accordingly. But I think it may not work if it's an under, lowercase. So let me try it. Oh, wait. It does work. So we're in luck for this one, but I know for a fact that other programming languages like R and MATLAB and all the others that I use, they are case sensitive. So it's a good practice to always keep in mind about the case, uppercase, lowercase. Okay, good. So we have that, and this is gonna be the basis for the pivot tables, the response number. Okay. So now what I want to do is, I want to, how do I get rid of this? So annoying. Do you see my little menu item for the shared screen? Maya?
No.
No, you don't, but we do, and it's in the way. I don't know where to put it. I'm just gonna put it somewhere. Okay, so now I think we're in a position to start crafting the pivot tables. And you have choices as to how to organize this. I usually just go to insert and just go with select the recommended pivot table. It doesn't really matter for now. What matters is that you have to specify the range, and the range is going to be basically all the data. So just select all the columns with the header of the column, just like so. And then click OK. And then I click OK on this one. It doesn't really give me recommendations, but it actually put it in a different sheet, which is fine. I can work with that. So first things, I'm gonna select here is what should be the response variable. So that's our response none. It puts it in the wrong place first, but don't worry about it. We have to put it in the value. So click, hold, drag, drop. And then it's still not in the right format because it's trying to calculate count, how many times this value occurs or whatever. But if you click the drop-down menu and you click value field settings, you want to select average. Click OK. Now it actually now computes the average of all of these ones and zeros. But of course, we're going to differentiate by condition. So the way that I like to organize it is by shape. So I click on shape, and putting it on in rows is actually good. You want to put the variable that has fewer levels on the rows, and the other variable that has more levels onto columns, just so the table is easier to read, I guess. I don't know. I'm just used to that. So the other thing that I want to put in is the size, and this one is going to be selected. Again, it's not how I really want it, so I'm just going to put it as a column. So again, click, hold, drag, drop. Size, and notice one thing now. At the top here are all the sizes: 6, 9, 10.5, 12, and so on. And then each row, the first row, is the average for a given size for cubes. And then the second row is the same thing for spheres. See? And this is actually what we're going to plot. But we're not done yet. Why? Because all of these include both action and perception trials. So we want to actually split this by mode. So I'm going to do, there's several ways you can do it. You can just click mode and it puts it in rows. So now what you have is cubes and spheres, and then action and perception for each. If you lose this table here, by the way, I clicked away, you can easily get back to it by just clicking on the pivot table somewhere, and it's going to come back. Or if it doesn't come back, then you can just right click anywhere on the fields, and it should offer you pivot table options. But it's right here, so I don't have to work for it. You can rearrange this a little bit. Let's see how I want to do this. It's all about how things are embedded in one another. Order matters. So you first have shape, and within shape, you have mode. But if you flip that, click, hold, drag and drop, so that mode is now the first one, the first row, and then shape is embedded in it. See how it changed now, the embedding of now you have action, and then cube and sphere are embedded in both action and perception. Does that make sense? You can move this around, and then the embedding of, or the crossing of levels of both variables changes, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Ask questions if this is not clear.
Um,
So see,
why do you have a blank one at the bottom?
Oh,
You can
that's-
just uncheck it.
yeah, you can uncheck it, like go here and then uncheck the blank. It's just a distraction. Don't worry about it.
I think I missed how you got the blank one to begin with.
I
It just
didn't.
automatically.
It's
Mine did
automatic.
that too when I created my.
Oh,
template.
see, mine doesn't have that.
That's fine.
Good.
You're lucky.
Mine just has cube and sphere. Blank isn't one of the options.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So okay. So shapes and modes are now ordered this way. I don't know if I like this. I want to have perception lumped together and action lumped together. So what I'll do instead is maybe I'll just create two separate like panels, like one of these panels for perception and another panel next to it.
Okay,
as-
because I couldn't figure out how, that was our issue. We couldn't figure out how you, I guess, lumped them together because we had to come up with two different
Yeah, you can do,
ones. and
you can
then
do
to
it.
get this.
Uh-huh.
But from the one table, I kept getting this. Like, why does it say hand total? And I think it's because of the way I organized it.
It's by tool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have to figure that one out too, because we want to have two graphs, one for the hand and one for the tool. So we're gonna have to branch out further. But bear with me on this one, just a second here. Let me try the other way. No, I have to go move the mode into the column. It's gonna get a little long, but that's how we can do it. So now what you have is, let me do it this way. This is better. So all the action trials are here, and all the perception trials are here.
Wait, oh, you moved. Okay, gotcha. Got it.
I will also clean this up, but I don't need the subtotal for the mode. It's just annoying. I even don't need the grand total, but I think it's still gonna be there. Although I can remove the grand total. Yeah, because I'm not even using that. I just need these numbers. Okay, so let me just try to color code here. This is action, and this is perception. Okay, I can color code just so it's easier to see. It's the sizes by shape for action and for perception. But now I want to break it down by tool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I select this one, and then I go in and I find the variable tool. And then if it's selected, then let's see how it did it. I don't like how it did it, so I'm gonna.
In the PowerPoint that you shared with us, you didn't have mode, like you didn't have
Yeah, I
ability
didn't
and
have
perception
mode.
as part of the
Yeah. So I realized
table.
this is a little bit different because I had a separate column for action. But then I realized afterwards that that's not optimal for again, for other software, like where there's empty cells. Some software doesn't like empty cells, and action is going to have a lot of empty cells, because we're only
Mhm.
testing the just once, whereas for perception we're testing so many other times. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's why I kind of lumped it all together so that there's no missing data. Some
Okay.
software just hates missing data. In fact, an ANOVA will disregard the whole row of data if if at least one of the entries in a given row is empty for repeated measures analysis. So that's why it's costly. Anyway, not all questions can be answered right now at this point. Some of the stuff will make sense once you like start analyzing data with software like SPSS and others,
Mhm.
or branch out even further. But I'm just telling you that missing or empty rows or empty cells can be a problem and a nuisance. So that's why I opted now for having just a response column, whether it be perception or action, because it's the same type of response, yes, no. Okay, so now let me try to group this for easier plotting, because I'm looking forward now to plot things, and I just want to have it make sense. So I may just go with 2 pivot tables instead of 1, just like you had it there. So I can do that. I can just remove mode. And then we're back to where we started. Well, maybe not so much. Let's see. Wait, I didn't. No, I removed the wrong thing. Sorry. I need to get tool out and put mode in and put mode here. And now we're back. So these are action trials. These are perception trials. Okay. So now I just basically want to copy this, the whole sheet. Oh, I'm just gonna do this. Oops. And now it's 2 sheets, but don't worry. We're just gonna do this one to be, we're gonna use, for both of them, we're gonna use tool as a filter. Okay, so tool here, I'm gonna put it in the filter, and then we're just gonna select one of them, like hand for this one. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for this guy, where I'm gonna use tool as a filter. And then for this one, I'm just gonna select the grabber. And now I think we're in business. So the top, this one is for the hand trials, both perception and action. And this one is for the grabber trials, both perception and action. And I think now we're in a position to plot. Okay. So now let's start plotting. I again gonna go to insert. And I usually like to do line charts for these ones because it gives me a better idea about the trend or visualizes the trend better. So I'm gonna go to this one here and select the one with the points, with the dots.
Oh,
Select.
so you just put in like a regular chart. You don't do a pivot chart.
No, I just put a
Okay.
regular chart. Oh, you didn't
Okay.
do a
Yeah,
chart.
that, I guess that's why it shows up like this. the dollars.
Yeah, so that was one of the issues that we were having is if we put in a pivot chart, we couldn't make more than
Oh,
one chart per pivot table. Like if we
yeah,
tried to edit the chart, it would change everything.
yeah. So that
Um,
this way, I can
also,
control what I do.
something that your computer and Mackenzie's computer does that my version of Excel doesn't for some reason is you see on the rightmost edge of where it's like put in the chart where it has the little plus sign, the little paintbrush, and then the little filter symbol.
Yeah, hers doesn't have the filter.
Yeah, mine doesn't have the filter.
Okay, this one, the sieve.
Yeah, mine doesn't have that option.
Okay, well, I don't really use it much, but let's see how I do it. And so This is the generic way to create a chart, and it's if you know this, you pretty much can create any chart. So you create just a chart by selecting insert and then one of these. I select these with the dots because I want to visualize the points, the average points. And then once it's created, then you right click and you click select data.
Okay, this was what I was telling her about. I was like, I remember he showed me selecting it on the thing, but I couldn't get to that point.
Yeah.
Pivot chart.
Because the pivot chart is restricted.
Yeah.
I
It's
figured
very
out the issue as to why my little filter thingy wasn't appearing.
Okay. So anyway, here's right click, select data, and then a window pops up, and then you start building. Then you start saying you don't need to put in chart data range. That's going to be automatically selected. So just click add. Click add, and then you can name your series by the name. So I usually like to let's just plot perception first because that's more interesting. Action trials are not going to be interesting for my data. So let's see. We're going to say this is hand. Actually, no, this is going to be the chart title. Sorry. So it's not that. It's going to be perception. And then I'm going to go. No, take it back. Not even that. It's going to be the shape. So cube. And then the series values are going to be cube perception. So I'm going to start selecting all of these. Yes. And see how it's already showing up.
Wait, what did you select?
I selected all the perception trials across sizes for the
Did
cube.
you?
So let me go
Okay.
edit. So editing is the same as actually creating. So series name is cube. You have to actually select this word cube, the box, and then you click the tab to go to the next box where it says series values, and then you select the range of values,
Okay.
and it's gonna be across the sizes. So from
Yes.
6 to 16.5, you select the values, then you click OK. Then you add the next one, which is going to be for the spheres. Same thing. So click add, then select sphere as the tag. Click tab to select perception averages for the sphere. I'm doing it right now. And the way you select it, you click on the first one, you hold, and then drag and release to select. Or you can manually type in all of this, but I usually don't bother. I just select. So click OK. And one more thing. Now we added the horizontal axis to be meaningful. And the horizontal axis is going to be all these 6, 9, 10 and a half, and so on and so forth. So now it knows what those diameters are or sizes. And then click OK. So this is the basic format of the chart, but I'm going to add stuff to it because there's no labels, no nothing. And I also don't like the sizes of these dots. So I'm going to change a lot of things on this. So, okay, let me work on this. I use the plus sign. First, chart title. I click on that and then I double click on it and I say perception. Actually, no. I say, well, perception by hand. Okay. And then I go and I click axes titles. Once I have that, I say, I double click on the vertical one and it's going to be proportion of yes responses. That's actually the most accurate definition. And then double click the axis title for the horizontal one, and it's going to be size in centimeters, either diameter or edge. Okay, then I create a legend. By clicking the plus sign, I go legend, and then I don't have to do too much for that. It creates it. Let's see. I don't like the color coding because I can tell you another thing that is going to be down the line. When we submit something for publication, usually you have to pay for color. And I don't like to pay for anything that is my intellectual property. So I usually use patterns. So the charts are going to be black and white, but I will use shapes and patterns to intuitively indicate the conditions. So, couple of things. You just hover over the line, you select it, and then it becomes active, and then you right click over it, and then you select Format Data Series. Okay, let me do it again. So here it is. I just click the line that I want to work on. They're all active. Then I right click and I then select Format Data Series. Then all of these options appear. And then I start working on this. I say color is this. First thing that I will do is I'm going to change the marker. The marker, I selected the sphere, so it's going to remain a sphere, but I will bump up the size a little bit because I like it bigger. Then I will change this to, let's say, keep it a solid line, but I'm gonna change the color to black. Actually, this just changes the border of the marker. So there's many options. You also have to change the fill of the marker, solid fill, and make it all black. See how things are changing in the chart? Then you go up and you work on the line. The line should also be a solid line and a black one. So we're done with this guy. Now we work on this other one, the cube. Again, do the same thing. Select, right click, format, click on color. I like to start with the marker. I'm gonna select the built-in one, but I'm gonna select a square and bump it up in size. And then I'm gonna use solid fill with a black color and solid line with a black color. So now we're done with the icon, the label, but I still need to work on the line. I selected it and then I go back to the color thing, click on line, and I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna change the color to black, and then I'm gonna change the dash type to be this. You have options, whatever makes sense. I usually like to have dash versus non-dash, but I would not keep both of them as a black line because especially when they're together, it can get confusing. It's already confusing because the square actually overshadows the spheres, but that's okay. And I think we're done for this one. Now, you don't have to recreate the other one from scratch. I usually just take this, copy it, put it down here, and just modify it. Okay? Modification is much smoother now because I don't have to do the new labels. It's all the same. So now I'm just going to change things and say perception by grabber. And then I go in and I select the data. And then I don't want to change the color coding or anything. That's done. I'm just going to right click and select data. Because obviously this is going to be different data. So which one did I select? I selected the cubes, right? And I need to go into the grabber section and basically edit the cube condition. It's still the cube, so I'm gonna leave that. And then I'm gonna select this from the second pivot table. Do the same for the sphere, edit. And then see how this is the perception pivot table. I mean the hand pivot table, but I want this. Because this is the grabber tool pivot table. I don't need to edit this. Yeah, there's some annoying things happening where the color coding somehow snaps back, but I can fix that. No problem. So I'll do that. This needs to be black again. So line, solid line and black. And then this one needs to be pattern, this, and black. And we are done. And I see that you were actually able to do it, but with the
But
pivot
yeah,
tables.
yeah.
But this is much more flexible.
Yeah, that's,
For example,
that makes sense.
eventually we're gonna add error bars when we have more people.
Yeah, I saw the option to do that.
Yeah, there's all sorts of
Oh.
options. So this tutorial is just a basic tutorial, but there's so many other options that we're gonna have to do. For example, for dissertations and theses, you're gonna have to add error bars. And you're gonna have to add like 95% confidence intervals because that's the most current recommendation from APA. So we're gonna have to do that. There's no error bars here now, unless we compute them over the repetitions, but we're not gonna do that. So yeah, we're done. Any questions?
Are you gonna show the
The probabilities?
yeah, that stuff?
No, that's like another half hour.
Okay.
So, and it involves SPSS and a lot of other things. So I'm gonna show that next time. We're
Okay.
gonna do this in stages. So my video already is 1 hour long, so it's gonna be big. So let me just stop it. If I know how to do that. Stop recording.